Hello and welcome to another edition of the Houn Show. I'm your host, Dixie Shank. I'll be with you for the next hour or so. We got a special treat tonight. We're going to have a guest just after the news, so look forward to that. I want to encourage everyone to like, follow, and subscribe. Also, enable notifications on the stream so you know when we go live and you can catch all the juicy info that we're going to share on the stream. Juicy. A lot of things going on in the news. We got the Bitcoin halving coming up. Last night, I made a little bit of an error on our show. So we went through the whole formula, basically what the halving is, what the halving, how the halving is determined through the monetary policy or the Bitcoin issuance formula. But I was saying epoch, and it was actually epoch. So I had to make that correction. I did put that in the comments on the video last night. So that's my bad. Should have looked it up, how the proper pronunciation is. So, but anyway, that being said, we are going to cover a little bit of news. But yeah, just be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, we do end the stream just before we do the news. So you want to, follow us on over to Rumble. Check us out on Rumble. We'll do the whole stream on Rumble. And previous episodes are available there to watch too. So you can see the whole episode. Occasionally, we'll do the whole episode or the whole live stream on YouTube. Like, for example, last night, we were just talking about Bitcoin and the halving. So there was no issues with that. But we will be ending the stream on the regular just before just before, I guess, around 15, 20 minutes in, just before we do the news. So if you, like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, follow us over on Rumble. Get on over there. We're also streaming live on X, formerly known as Twitter. So check us out there too. You can find the stream on my profile at Dixie Shank on X, and so you'll be able to find us there. So give us a shout. Give us leave us a comment, something, anything. It's all good. So a few things happened over the past week that was, I guess depending on what your outlook is, wasn't the best news for some, was decent news for others. But we know, a few things have been going on over the past few weeks with regards to censorship being exposed even more. Some information about Fauci came out, some emails and otherwise unknown information that was just dropped. So that being said, it's going to get more and more interesting the closer we get to November. I think, as far as happenings are concerned, I think there's going to be a lot more happenings over the next several months, but between now and November of this year, when we have the general election, which is the presidential election, 2024. So definitely some cool stuff going on. Lots of information kind of coming out. There's some information that James O'Keefe exposed with the Federal Reserve. We'll be covering that in our news section. We'll also be covering the death of O.J. Simpson that happened this past week. And we'll be talking about some, stuff concerning that. We've got a clip for that too that was basically this guy put this together. It's basically a clip montage of Steve Harvey and how he's kind of been, quote unquote, red pilling people to the O.J. Simpson situation since, I guess, way back when it happened or freshly happened. So definitely stay tuned for that. But also, you can call into the show. Our number is 762-268-1605. You can call into the show and we can put your audio from the call on the stream live. If you'd like to schedule an appearance on the show, you can email me at dixie.shank@protonmail.com, and we'll be happy to have you coordinate a time for a live stream. Or if you would rather do a pre-recorded interview, we can do that as well. So I got some information coming in here. Let me check real quick. Our guest is having some technical difficulties. Give me a moment. They're having a hard time figuring out how to find the link that I sent them on Telegram. So once they figure that out, we'll get them queued up in the stream, and we'll have them on after we cover the news. If they can figure it out. It's super secret link for them to call in, or not. Well, they're not calling in; they're joining the live stream. So they'll be here, and we're just going to basically discuss their role. You know, like what they do for a living, their opinion on some of the current events. We'll also talk to them about Bitcoin and what they feel about it and what they think about it. And we'll get into some other topics, whatever topics they choose. You know, if they want to bring something up, we'll also cover that information as well. So we're looking forward to that for sure. I'm just going to give them a couple of minutes and see if I can get them in the green room. They're lost, so let me just nudge them along. All right, so I had to send them the link. Let me text it to them. Cool. So we got them the link. So we'll see what happens there. That being said, oh, they messaged me back again. Gotta love live, right? Live on a Saturday night. Let's see if they pop in here in a few minutes. So again, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and enable notifications, because we go on live sometimes during the weekdays, sometime after 9 p.m. It might be 9:30. It might be quarter to 10 Eastern time. But you know, if you enable notifications, you'll know when we go live every time, and you can go ahead and hop on the stream and watch the show. We'll be covering a few items tonight, and as I said, after the news, we'll be bringing on a guest and have them on as well. So looks like our guest made it into the green room, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's check out the news. So, like I said, over the past week, it's been an interesting few days. We have O.J. Simpson passed away at 76 after his battle with cancer, his family announced. If you're not familiar with this situation, O.J. Simpson was a Heisman Trophy winning football player, and he had some trouble. I guess, what was it? Late 80s, early 90s, something like that. Yeah, he had some trouble where he was on trial for murdering his wife and her friend, Ron Goldman. So that kind of really solidified his namesake in infamy. You know, he was acquitted, just like Johnny Cochran said, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. But reading from the story here, O.J. Simpson, whose immense fame on the football field was eclipsed by his infamy off it, died Wednesday, according to his family. He was 76. Simpson had been battling cancer and had been in hospice. Simpson's attorney also confirmed his death to TMZ. So I guess if he's on hospice, then I didn't know that he had cancer. I didn't know that he was fighting a battle with cancer. I guess that's how these things type of things go. They don't really want to discuss it, I guess, or have any information out, even if you're a celebrity or whatnot. But in this situation, yeah, I guess he was on hospice. So that means, hospice is the last end. That's the end of the road right there. It's basically making sure you're comfortable when you're getting ready to check out. On April 10th, our father, Orenthal James Simpson, succumbed to his battle with cancer. Read a statement posted by Simpson's family on X. He was surrounded by his children and his grandchildren. Well, that's sweet. I feel bad for the family. Obviously, it's never easy. I mean, even family's family, right? Even if he was accused of murder, and he had that other altercation where he assaulted that guy in Las Vegas and tried to steal his memorabilia from that guy. But family's family, right? So, you have to respect their love for their father. O.J. Simpson was the first player to reach a rushing mark many thought could not be attained in a 14-game season when he topped 2,000 yards. That's quite impressive. Pro Football Hall of Fame president Jim Porter said in a statement, his on-field contributions will be preserved in the Hall's archive in Canton, Ohio. It will live on forever. No matter what Simpson did as a football player, he will always be more remembered for perhaps the most famous murder trial in American history, one that had people glued to their televisions on a daily basis and split the country along racial lines. That's where, I've got a clip of Steve Harvey kind of talking about this, but that's where the problem kind of lies. The media wants to turn everything into a race situation. It doesn't matter what race he was. He was accused of murder and killing his own wife and her friend. So it really doesn't matter. The moment he was found not guilty of the 1994 murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman, was one of the most watched in television history, as was Simpson's slow speed Ford Bronco chase through Southern California freeways after he was charged with the murders and failed to turn himself in. I remember watching that on TV live, and it was a slow speed chase. He's just chilling. He's just cruising down the road in his Bronco with 25 cops behind him, and they're all just slowly following too. I mean, I think it's probably the only slow speed chase that had that much attention in history. So let's go ahead and play this clip I have. It's a clip of Steve Harvey, and he's talking about O.J. Simpson. And this is, I got this from Absolute 1776, who's a content creator, but he put this little montage together. It's short, and it's only 2 clips really, but it kind of shows that, people like Steve Harvey already knew what to be true, or at least it formed an opinion, and he kind of spelled out the whole media, basically ginning up the racial animus that really didn't exist in this story. I mean, he murdered his wife, who happened to be white. Anyway, let's have a listen to this, and we'll see what Harvey says.
You know something, man? Johnny Cochran, who was a friend of mine, he had put the system on trial.
Right.
Not O.J.
Right.
He put the system.
Yeah.
O.J. killed everybody in that driveway. Let's just, to hell with all this. O.J. killed both them people. You know that my favorite kind of material is always of the controversial nature. Ain't nothing changed. Here we go. Ain't no need of looking around, getting mad at what I'm about to say. These are my opinions. Therefore, it makes them the right ones. You got a different opinion, keep it to yourself. Ain't nobody in here paid to hear what you think. That's what I'm here for. We might as well get it out the way. It's in the news every day. O.J. Simpson. Now, you can have your opinion of whether you think he did it or not. Most people have formed one already. You may not agree with what I'm about to say, but damn it, I think he did it. I think O.J. killed everybody in that goddamn driveway. Tried to kill that dog, too. Dog had blood on his ass. He was just too quick for O.J.'s ass. See, I'll tell you a couple things make me think he did it. First of all, like my daddy always say, stick to what you do. You a football player? Hell, play football. If you don't know how to commit murder, damn it, don't do it. Stay your ass at the house. What you out there trying killing people for if you ain't good at it? Plus his old ignorant ass and got evidence popping up everywhere. Somebody say they found a Heisman Trophy in the bushes. Because, see, I am not of the thinking that the media got us going at, trying to turn it into a racial issue. This ain't about race. This about somebody that killed somebody else. And I don't care what color he is. If he killed somebody, he got to go. I don't give a damn if he do play football. And I ain't backing nobody just cause you black. If you done killed somebody, blue, black, green, yellow, your ass got to go. I'm telling you that right now. And the media done got all of black America in an uproar about it being a race issue. This ain't race. You understand me? OJ ain't been black since he won that Heisman Trophy. So now, I ain't picketing for no damn body. I ain't getting out there carrying no sign. Kiss my ass, I tell you that right now. Oh, I might go down there and picket, but you ain't gonna like what's on my sign. Because I'm gonna have fuck OJ on both sides.
So he said he's going to have a picket sign. Back in 92, he's going to have a picket sign that says FOJ on both sides. Yeah, I think that kind of characterizes things pretty succinctly. Pretty succinctly. All right, so our next story for the night. So James O'Keefe released a new report, a new hidden video report, where he has got this guy who works for the Federal Reserve talking about Jerome Powell working against Trump and had an agenda. Even though Trump appointed him and he was confirmed, he was working against Trump. The guy kind of characterized it as Jerome Powell wanted to be the stopgap or stand up against Trump. The guy that everybody elected, they wanted to run the country. He's going to stand up against them. So you could effectively say he's standing up against the majority of Americans. So Jerome Powell's this is from James O'Keefe's X post where he put this video out and this content. Jerome Powell's legacy as somebody who held the line against like Trump. The influential agency responsible for maintaining a stable monetary system appears to not just be establishing interest rates, but to be setting policies for desired social outcomes. Where have we heard that before? CRT, DEI, ESG, Kill Whitey. Under Powell, the Fed has changed to think about equity issues like racial issues, think about wealth inequality as part of the mandate, as part of the things that we are following. Think about climate change. R.L. Hismo, the principal economist at the Federal Reserve, who prior to working at the Fed was an assistant professor at NYU Stern and received his PhD in economics from Duke University. Duke. Helps write speeches for Federal Reserve Board Chair Jerome Powell for the Federal Open Market Committee. So he works for the Federal Reserve, and he basically writes speeches for Jerome Powell. He's a subject matter expert for Jerome Powell to write speeches. Sorry, my little dog is coming down the stairs. So he goes on to say, Trump is just a crazy person and conservatives are dumb, as he describes to OMG's American Swiper citizen journalist, a politicized Federal Reserve Board, where Powell has promoted ESG issues like climate change and quote, wants to be remembered in history, quote, as a savior. But don't tell anybody, because Hismo says, I'm just really worried that I'm saying stuff that's classified. It's all classified. No. It's not. It's the Federal Reserve. You guys are supposed to be transparent. There's nothing classified in financial reports and statements and how you're dealing with our money and our economy in this country. There's nothing classified about that. The secrets are there because you guys don't want anybody to know what you're really doing over at the Federal Reserve. So I've got a couple of clips from James O'Keefe's undercover video. We're going to watch 2 of these clips, and it's basically this guy from the Federal Reserve, this principal accountant from the Federal Reserve, is basically he doesn't know he's being recorded. He's out on a date, just in true James O'Keefe fashion. He's on a date. He thinks he's going to, impress this lady, so he's going to tell her all kinds of stuff. So let's have a listen to the first clip, and then we'll play the second clip, and then we'll go from there.
Right now, I'm preparing for something. I'm going to do a talk to the Fed board.
Meet Houn Show. He's a principal economist working inside the Federal Reserve.
So you write speeches for Powell?
Yeah, like for certain paragraphs. I'm just really worried that I'm saying stuff like stuff that's classified.
Do you deal with classified stuff?
It's all classified, right?
Quote, "It's all classified."
It's all classified. Trump is a crazy person. It's very clear. I mean, he's a dumb guy.
Does he hate Trump? Is the feeling neutral?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
And Trump was president. He wanted to stimulate the economy.
Right.
But he wouldn't do it. And he started raising interest rates, doing the opposite that Trump wanted. So, so the feeling is this, that we don't want Trump to be in government.
Right.
Houn Show, principal economist with the Federal Reserve, says Jerome Powell wants to go down in history as someone who, quote, held the line against Donald Trump, unquote.
He's doing it for the legacy. He wants to be remembered in history as somebody who held the line against like Trump and like somebody who helped the economy.
So he's going to hold the line and stop Trump all by himself, all by his lonesome. Such a true patriot to go against the person that put you there. All right, we're going to play the second clip, then we're going to do our final story, and we're going to bring our guest on. Our guest, Q-Tip. Let's go ahead and listen to this next clip here from James O'Keefe's undercover reporting.
Like, Trump hates him. Trump wanted to fire him, but he couldn't because his independent...
Does he hate Trump? Is the feeling neutral?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trump nominated him and Congress approved it. And then as soon as he became chair, Trump wanted him to lower interest rates. Because when you lower interest rates, it stimulates the economy.
Yeah.
And Trump was president. He wanted to stimulate the economy.
Right.
But he wouldn't do it. And he started raising interest rates, doing the opposite that Trump wanted. Trump tried to find all the loopholes to fire him. And
so they don't get along?
No.
So does he get along with Biden?
He does. He would Biden administration.
Yeah.
Biden would want the interest rates to go lower.
Yep.
At the same time, he doesn't want inflation.
Okay.
Because inflation is bad. Everybody's complaining
But
about
inflation is not really an issue anymore, is it?
Well, that's because we've been increasing rates for a little while.
But you think inflation is still a problem for us right now?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. We don't have inflation problem right now. But we got to fight against the man to stop it. So, it'll be interesting to note, Jerome Powell actually is a registered Republican, but he's buddies. Biden likes him and he likes Biden. This is the uniparty at work here. The uniparty, one party. The Republican Democrat thing is an illusion. In other news, Florida poll predicts double-digit Trump victory over Biden. This was released on the 11th, a couple days ago. The latest poll from Emerson College found that former President Donald Trump, would defeat President Joe Biden in Florida by double digits. Another sign the state is no longer the purple bellwether it once was. There was a big move a few years ago to try to get Florida purple. And what purple means is it's up for grabs between the Democrats and the Republicans, okay? But, like we just said, the uniparty, right? So even that statement is misleading, because there are Republicans that are in name only, aka rhinos, that are in Congress right now that just voted on the FISA bill to renew it. They voted down the amendment to require a proof for these agencies, or warrant for these agencies to go and look at this database about Americans and pull information for Americans. And so that wasn't, that was voted down. They didn't vote it, right? 86, I believe. So why would these Republicans do that? Well, because they're rhinos. They're not really Republicans. They're pretending. And I was kind of happy about Johnson becoming the Speaker of the House, but evidently that is also, he has also turned out to be, I don't know. I mean, I guess the jury's kind of out on it, but I don't think he's doing a very good job. I don't think he's really doing what we expected him to do as Speaker of the House. He seems more or less Please bear with me while I work on this technical issue that we seem to be having with our audio. Let's go to the next slide. Hopefully it was transient. When the undecideds were pushed to give which candidate they lean towards if they had to choose between Trump and Biden, the result is 56% to 44% in Trump's favor, a 12-point race. Trump won Florida in 2020 by around 3%, and in 2016 by just over 1%. While Governor Ron DeSantis and statewide Republicans all won the state in 2022 by around 20%, presidential turnout patterns tend to be different than midterm elections. So what they're saying there is there's usually a lower turnout in midterm elections versus a presidential. So the fact that they were able to win in that election by that margin, and we're already seeing Trump ahead by 13%. It's pretty much, Florida is in the bag for Trump. I think it's fair to say. So yeah, good stuff in the news, good stuff to look forward to in the news. And that is the news. All right, so we're back. Now we're going to bring on our guest, Q-Tip. And Q-Tip looks to be maybe a little frozen here. Oh, he's back in. Having a little bit of an issue tonight. I'm not sure why, but we're waiting on Q-Tip to get his camera on. We're going to try and bring him up. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Hello, Q-Tip. You're live.
Good evening.
All right. Well, it looks like we lost Q-Tip. We're trying to get Q-Tip back. While we're waiting on Q-Tip to get connected again, let's play this next clip. Let's play this next clip that we got from Marjorie Taylor Greene here. Actually, looks like we're having a little bit of an issue here. Let's see what's going on. Maybe I can get him on the phone. Well, we're trying. We're trying to get Q-Tip up on the stream. Looks like he's not able to get connected here. So let's play this clip real quick while we give Q-Tip a moment to work on his technical issues. Let's have a listen.
You wrote stories critical of the Biden administration. Is that true?
That's fair.
I mean, you wrote a number of things about the laptop issue, about Hunter Biden, all kinds of things. You wrote critical of the Biden family, the Biden business operation, the Biden brand, and all that stuff.
Congressman, I reported out the facts of the story.
You sure did.
I
You
called
sure
balls and
did. You
strikes.
reported the facts. Seems to me there's a pattern developing here. You're critical of the government in this Atkinson situation, and Shazam, they start doing all kinds of strange things to your phone line, to your computer. You're critical of the government at a major news organization. You're an award-winning journalist. You've been there 5 years. You get fired, but it's not just you got fired. In fact, we can maybe there's nothing to that. But what we do know is they seized your documents. That's scary as well. And you talk about a chilling effect on the First Amendment. I don't know how it could be more chilling.
It's an attack on free press. It's an attack on the First Amendment. It makes it more challenging for reporters to work in the future. That disrupts the free flow of information to the public. They call it journalism a profession for a reason, because it's about an informed electorate.
Yeah, I mean, an informed electorate. Who would have thought, right? That's what journalism is supposed to be for. All right, so we got Q-Tip back. Let's bring Q-Tip up. All right.
Good evening. You got me on the audio?
Can you hear me, Q-Tip?
Yeah, I've got you.
I think your mic might be muted, maybe. Can't hear you.
What about now? You got me now?
Let's see.
Good evening.
All right, give me just 1 second here. I know what's
I know
going
what
on.
it-
The audience can hear you, but I cannot. So give me just a moment to fix this. All right, Q-Tip.
You got
Let's
me
go
now?
ahead,
Got me now?
Yep, I can hear you now. I think we may have a duplicate, may have a little bit of an echo on the stream. Working on that. So let's see here.
What about now? What about now?
Oh, I can hear you just fine now. But
Oh yeah, I hear it.
I'm mixing that audio in using my audio mixer, and what's happening is when you speak, it's probably playing it twice for everybody. So I'm trying to isolate that. Test, test, test. Sounds like we still got audio. Can you hear me, Q-Tip?
I got you. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I think I got the problem solved. Okay, good deal. So, Mr. Q-Tip, what are we up to on a Saturday night?
Just kind of relaxing for the weekend, and been working on the house as usual, and so just taking it easy and plan on probably watching a movie or something here in a little while. So
Gotta love movies, right? That's a good way to relax and chill out. So, what do you do for a living, Q-Tip?
I'm in
It's
the
not it.
rental equipment rental business, um, very construction related and uh, manufacturing, some of that stuff as well. So
Okay. Have you seen any, with inflation the way it is right now and prices going up and all this kind of stuff that's happening with the economy, are you seeing any impact from that in that industry?
there's always tremendous impacts from supply chain issues, uh, cost of goods, of course, and then the cost of good, the price to get the good to market. Uh, and when bridges go
Right.
down, that doesn't help the business. Uh,
Oh, so you
being
guys are impacted by the bridge collapse.
they they will feel some effect, um, just because a lot of the heavy equipment stuff that's coming from Europe uh, comes into Baltimore. So
I
there
got you. So
will be
this would be on. Okay, so this would be on new equipment, I guess.
on new equipment, yeah. So as far as yeah, I mean inflationary prices, equipment prices have gone through the roof. Honestly, the last 3 or 4 years, um, and so it does make it harder to do business sometimes when you got to price that in. So
Right.
people
I understand.
hesitant to spend the money, right?
Right. So it's more expensive to buy the equipment, and now we have a supply chain issue, which is probably going to make the equipment even more expensive, maybe, or stay the same, or just
On
delayed.
even just late, slower to get to the market.
I got you. I got you. So you guys buy a lot of equipment that comes into that harbor? Is it predominantly? Is that the supply chain that you guys use?
Our company is allotted a certain amount of equipment per production. So you know, some of that'll be affected, I'm sure, on orders that we probably had in place already or were allocated equipment.
Oh, okay.
So,
I got you.
but I mean, of course, the big brand buys the equipment or whatever, and then we buy it from them as a dealer, right? So,
I got you. Okay.
mhm.
So that being said, is there any plans to route that to a different port of call coming in, or is it
Already
just
have, they've already made some adjustments to some of that. I saw an article or was listening whatever and talking about some of the auto manufacturers. Is a big one too. Um, Already rerouting. I think Nissan came out and said something about rerouting due to the Baltimore bridge collapse, uh, the supposed collapse, right? So,
yeah,
um, but
yeah? We don't know what happened exactly.
no, probably
Did you hear about the recent one? There was another close call with another freighter, I guess a few days or maybe a week or so after in New York Harbor.
um, I don't remember about that one. I didn't hear anything about it, but I know that the same day the Baltimore collapse, or impact / collapse. There was another event, I believe, that happened along the Ohio River, um, where it was a fire, some sort of massive fire. They weren't talking. I mean, they didn't mention anything about it. So, uh,
Yeah, it's funny how they do that, right?
yeah.
So let me ask you this. So it sounds like things are getting kind of worked out to go around this situation in Baltimore, but it's interesting to know that it impacted your business, or the industry that you're in, along with inflationary stuff that's also driving the prices up. So more money has to be spent to buy this equipment. Do you know if there are? I mean, what would you say the outlook is? I mean, if there was a goal or a destination, right, that you wanted to that you're hoping to get to as you and your company as a solution to the problem, what would you say that is, or is there one?
I mean, I think where there's, can always come up with a solution. You should always have several options on the table, no matter what, when you're a global company. But I think that it just goes back to the foreign reliance, you know, uh, global supply chains, and of course, you know, biggest equipment manufacturer on the planet. They kind of have to get things from other parts of the world. We couldn't produce everything here. It's not really possible. But I think if they could put an effort towards it and try to bring some of that manufacturing back here domestically, um, that would help a lot, of course. But
Right, right. I could see that. So let me so let's change direction a little bit. So I don't know if you got to catch any of the clips that we played on the stream prior to you coming up, but I
I
wanted to
did.
ask you your okay, cool. So I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the Catherine Herridge testimony in front of the committee. I didn't have a really long clip, but it was more of just I think it was a good clip in that it summed up basically what everybody was thinking about it, and the fact that there seems to be an assault in this country on free speech. We've seen that with censorship. We've seen that with stuff, news about COVID that got squashed and censored, and people couldn't talk to each other. Even experts, people that were considered experts in that field, weren't allowed to speak, and they were shut down. What is your take on the state of free speech in the country, in the United States, as it stands right now?
So I think, it's obviously it's just kind of a full-on assault. I feel like um, the First Amendment, of course, always the Second Amendment. They're still trying to disarm, you know, America. Um, but I think, of course, the speech. I hear a lot of people saying, that's the most important, uh, right that we have. Um, and I agree. I agree mostly. I think that most all of your amendments are pretty well equal, right? Because I mean, if you take one piece of the Jenga, right? You take one out of there and you take another one out. Next thing you know, it collapses. But I think that you have the alternative social media and stuff. The Rumble, the True Social, some of these other ones that are trying to shore up the free speech. But when you have the major corporations, media corporations, and they take that, they say, hey, you got to give us all of your information. You got to give us everything you have, and you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. I mean, you know, that's the rug pull right there on the First Amendment. And I think it was you had said something, or maybe in that clip about uh, basically not having an ignorant electorate, right? Where they don't pay attention, or even if they do pay attention, what they're being told is inaccurate. So it just goes back to a lot of that misinformation. So
So Right. So would you say that not only is there a censorship problem in this country and the First Amendment's under attack, but there's also a propaganda agenda being ran on the American people?
Yeah, I think it's both. The obviously the censorship is, we've. I mean, I remember when of course, you had to, it was when they first, who some of the, I think it's like NWA, some of the rappers and stuff, when they put explicit lyrics and they tried to censor them and they fought it. Somebody, it was a big case that had happened, I think, in the '90s sometime, but it was about that, saying, "Hey, this is free speech," and they try to censor it then, right? So they've been trying to do this for a long time, of course, probably even obviously way longer than that, but um, I think that propaganda exists on both sides. It can exist everywhere, you know, and so it just comes down to being, parsing through it, and trying to. You don't want to go too far on either side, but you want to listen to a little bit of both and understand, try to gather your own knowledge on it, and
Right.
uh, you don't want to be just a sheep, right?
Sure. Right, right. I get you. So discernment, right? Use a little bit of a discernment when you're looking at information and try to corroborate it with other sources or, validate that information that it's accurate and correct. Would that be a fair
Right.
assessment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we've been under attack by propaganda. Our free speech is being stomped on. You mentioned Rumble and X. So here on the Houn Show, we do a stream. We primarily stream to Rumble. We also carry YouTube and X, but we typically drop YouTube on certain shows depending on what information that we're going to discuss, because it might end up with our account getting banned because it might violate terms of service. But we're kind of using YouTube as a way to get our show out and to generate viewers and stuff like that. But we also try to coax them over to Rumble so they can watch the full show. But occasionally we'll leave a full show running on YouTube and we'll just kind of roll the dice a little bit and see what happens. Would you with respect to propaganda and censorship in the country, do you have any personal experience with being censored or being canceled, so to speak, in your day to day interactions or anything that you do from over the past few years?
Uh, so when things were getting a little messy, I think it was shortly after George Floyd, and of course you had all of the mostly peaceful protesting happening across the country, and where
Yeah,
they were burning
mostly
buildings.
peaceful.
Yeah, and so I posted something that they were in our small little town here, and so I posted something, and it the right person, I guess, for them, the wrong person for me, was offended. Of course, we've got a major problem with that as well. But just to tow it so easily offended. But they reported me to my employer, and um, it was like, hey, you need to take this post. And fortunately, I work for a private company. Um, it's a family owned company, kind of technically. And so they're really good people. They understand, and so I was like, hey, we can't even have free speech anymore in this country. And so he said, hey, my manager said, hey, you can remove it, or, do you really want to fight it? And I said, well, no. So I removed the post. Um, and so that's just a pretty good example of, uh, what can go wrong if you
Right.
post or you say how you feel, um, and trying to be candid about things. And and the tensions were very high when all that was happening as well. And so but it
Sure.
was a reflection of where we're at, where we're going with censorship and squashing free speech. So
Right.
directly impacted at that at one time. Fortunately, I'm still with the same employer. So.
Right. 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 Well, that's good. That's good. So, so in that situation, that's the danger of this, right? The censorship, the propaganda, the canceling. We saw a lot of that during COVID. We saw a lot of people being shut down, people forced to take a vaccine to save their job, and stuff of this nature. And so it's kind of similar to your situation, right? You're in a situation where your livelihood's put at risk because of something that you said that, for like you said, it's free speech. You're allowed to have your opinion. Whether others agree with it or not is not it's not their place to shut you down. It's your opinion, right? They're allowed to have their opinions, and you're allowed to have yours. So it's kind of a similar situation that they basically, indirectly hold your livelihood hostage and force you into a situation. I mean, we're talking about a post here that you made. It was asked to be taken down, but so it was easily rectified, but it was still wrong from the aspect of free speech. And then fast forward to the COVID situation, you had people that were told the same kind of thing, but they were forced to get an injection. If they didn't get the injection, then they could no longer work there. These are people that were there 10, 15, 20 years, and their livelihood was being held hostage. The ability to provide for their family, the ability to put food on the table was held hostage, and they were told, look, this, you have to comply or you're gone. And I could, so it's a similarity. It just got ramped up a whole lot to where they're forcing people to get an injection that they didn't want. Did you see any, I mean, I guess when I'm trying to draw a parallel here between your situation and would you say that things were exponentially getting worse, and that at some point in the past few years there was a huge altercation that just sped it all up?
Um, so as far as I never had any previous issues ever. I feel like my company I ultimately I feel like it was being driven by the insurance companies. Um, some of it, or and however they go through their whole the bureaucratic lobbyist stuff. Like, hey, this guy gets paid because he sold such and such. Let's push as many vaccines as we can out so we can all make billions of damn dollars. So the company that I work for incentivized the shot. As far as if you got the shot, you would get paid, and then you would go into a pool, and then if you were if you were drawn out of the hat, you would get extra money, you would get even more money. So that was ramped up a lot through them, but I think it's a control factor, right? It's all about, hey, how quick can we get them to comply? Um, and I think Trump's been pushing, saying, hey, we will not comply again. If you try to push us into the corner again, we're not going to comply. Um, I mean, I tend to agree. So,
Right. So you mentioned Trump. So I'm gonna I'm gonna ask the question: Trump or Biden?
mm, yeah, there's no question there. Trump.
Yeah, we agree on the Houn Show. Trump 2024 for sure. If not, our country's lost. So let me ask you this: how do you think the next few months are going to play out leading up to November, and what do you think we can expect to see in November around the election?
Honestly, I don't have a clue. I think it can be. There's going to be a lot of potential for a black swan event. A lot of potential for massive voter fraud. Uh, I keep hearing about the postal service in Georgia, how it's having so many problems. Why are we having all these problems, delays and issues? And I don't. really understand why we would. When you go to mail a letter and it costs 45 cents for a stamp. So you can't tell me it's funding. You can't tell me it's, it feels kind of like, it's already in the works, on some of that, I think a lot of it, how it played out with the election previously. But, you know,
Yeah.
who knows,
Yeah, I
man?
saw. Yeah, I saw a post the other day that was posted on X by Donald Trump Jr., and it was some emails that were flying around, and it was basically this. He characterized it as they are trying to do it again in 2024, and it's going to be basically, it was a communication between an agency, EIP, I think it is, and this gentleman saying, what can we do to stop this discussion about election cheating? And so they're already kind of starting the ball rolling again with the squashing any discussion about election cheating.
Hmm. Yes, I mean it's just more of the conditioning of it, right?
Right,
Nothing.
right,
If you keep saying it's blue, eventually you'll believe it's blue.
right, right. Well, you keep, what was it Stalin that said, you just keep telling them the lie until they accept the lie as the truth?
That's right.
A few weeks ago, we did a special, or not this past Friday, but the Friday before, we did a special on the origins of DEI and where it came from. And in our research, we discovered, well, we kind of already knew, but we did corroborate that information with several different articles and information that we researched. But the Frankfurt Institute, or the School for Social Research in Germany, is where this DEI, they didn't call it DEI back then; they called it critical theory.
It's
But
60
but
years ago.
say again.
It's like 60 years ago. I mean, it was decades ago, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely, absolutely.
what it works for.
Yeah, they got ran out of. So the goal of this institute was to make, or basically, critical theory was a way to facilitate people to adopt communism, because people would not normally adopt communism. So you have to manipulate them into adopting or accepting communism. And that's really what this was. And so Germany figured out what they were doing, kicked them out of the country, and they come over here. They come over to the United States, and they all landed at Columbia University, which has a history of hating Americanism and hating America, and being a socialist promoter. And then that was in the, I want to say, late 40s, early 50s, something like that. And then, of course, they start their educating a generation to believe this kind of garbage. And so, now we've got these people. But in that show, we had a clip from a KGB agent who defected back in the 80s over to the United States. And he was a part of the KGB, and he was saying that he was part of this team that basically did, it was a social subversion, where it is
So, yeah,
basically the same. Say again?
yeah, it's like a 4 or 5 part process to
Yes,
create the kind.
absolutely. Yep, that's right. And it was interesting. I played that clip on the show last week because it kind of lines up with critical theory, right? What they do, as far as their process to demoralize a country. You convince everybody that what they believe to be true is not right, it's not real, and you get people in a situation where they are demoralized, and they can't see the truth no matter how much evidence you provide them. They're just stuck in whatever, thought process or ideological brainwashing that's been put on them. And so, that being said, that kind of draws a parallel with what we're seeing now with DEI. That's the goal, is to basically criticize capitalism, criticize all facets and all parts of our society, to the point to where it makes it undesirable. So people believe that they had a goal. That goal is now wrong in these other people's opinions. So now you accept that, okay, well, my goal was wrong for this reason. And so now you don't have a goal anymore. So now you have nothing. And you're basically And that was another part of the article another part of the information that we put in the report, which was Ann Ryan had wrote. She's the one that wrote Atlas Shrugged, but she wrote another paper, another book, and she talked about this research done on people that, men are their values are driven by their basically being rewarded for what they do. So you go to work, you earn money, you put food on your table, you buy a home, you buy a car, you provide for your family, and that is a worthy goal. But the goal of DEI is to tell you that is not a worthy goal, or you are a racist, or you are this, or you are that, fill in the blank. And so once they remove that goal, then they also by extension remove your values, and it basically
Away.
yeah, it takes your life away. So I don't want to keep you too long. We've been on for about 25 minutes. I certainly appreciate you coming on, Q-Tip. You are our first guest on the Houn Show, and we hope to have you back. Let me ask you one more question. So we talked about the election. We talked about Trump and Biden. How do you, now I have to ask this question too. We did a special last night on Bitcoin, the Bitcoin halving, and we basically went through the Bitcoin issuance formula, which is what basically drives how many Bitcoin are added to the supply. So let me get your opinion. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin as a whole and as an investment?
I think Bitcoin as a whole is, I mean, obviously it's decentralized. You know, it's it's finite, right? It can't be manipulated. Um, and so it is I feel like it's a pretty solid thing that's going to continue to gain value, um, which is not based on necessarily the dollar as far as value, right? Um, on the
So to
small
be,
side of things, I feel like it's, you know, they fear what they don't understand, right? And so, I think that a lot of scrambling going on. I know it's risen in value quite a bit this year. Um, it kind of went through a little bit of a winter time, but I think as the dollar is worth less and less, of course, people look at other things. And
right.
so I think that's allowed it to gain a lot of volume and overall worth. So, and it's gained, a lot more people are aware of it now, um, in the last just couple of years.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I agree. And would you say that awareness is really driven? I mean, you mentioned that the dollar going, losing value. Would would it be fair to say that the awareness is directly related to the deflation in the U.S. dollar?
I mean, I think so. Like I said, it's, for a lot of people if they're investing their money in a 401k or, and you're saying, well, I'm going to hold off on paying taxes now. I don't know what the taxes are going to be in the future. So you're already getting taxed more money on it than you realize. Um, and so you might be looking at other things to invest into. Um, knowing, of course, a weak dollar, so prices are up on everything the weaker the dollar is, right? So, um, but as I think Bitcoin becomes more transactional, right, for people and they understand it, um, on how functional it really is. Um, I feel good about Bitcoin as an alternative currency. I don't think
So
the dollar's going away anytime soon, but I
right,
do think in the long term, obviously 10, 15, 20 years from now, it very well could be gone. Or it could be gone
right.
next year. So, the policymakers, man, they're going to do what they do. So,
Yeah. Well, they're going to run it into the ground,
yeah,
printing
let's
it
hope they
out of
do.
existence. I did a report, or we did a little bit of a news report tonight on James O'Keefe's undercover reporting of this Federal Reserve employee who said that Jerome Powell wanted, basically wanted to stand against Trump or hold a line against Trump, even though Trump put him in that position. Is that surprising to you that there are people that were in the government that he appointed that were working against him actively?
At first, it was surprising. I mean, then it was just like it became like, who's next? I think it was who was the big oil guy. Um, I don't remember what
Rex
he was.
Tillerson.
Rex Tillerson. So you remember? Well, technically, the first one I guess was Alabama Sessions.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jeff
Yeah.
Sessions.
So it was him, and then it was Tillerson, and then it was like, who's next kind of thing. Um, Obviously, hold your what is it? Your friends close and your enemies closer. So, I didn't surprise me, as it in the future of it how it evolves. But to begin with, I think it did shock a lot of people. Um, and that's how all the leaks were happening because everybody, there's no loyalty, right? Um, I feel like he'll probably be a lot more uh, knowledgeable and wise about his who he puts in place next time around here. So,
Right.
um, but yeah,
Well, let me ask you this too, in regards to that. What do you think their motivation was? Why were they working against Trump?
well, ultimately, just to continue to drag him through the mud and try to just turn the narrative against him, right? And to try to continue, or even not even to continue, but try to start to erode the support he has um, with his base. Probably some of that, some of it is like a gotcha moment type thing, I think. But ultimately, it's because they fear him and they just they want him out.
Why do you think it
If I
is that
think
they
that's
fear him?
necessary.
Yeah. Well, why is it that you why is it that you think that they? I mean, why would they fear him? Let me put it that way.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious they can't control him, right? I mean,
Right.
he went totally against the grain, and I mean, he did everything he could. I think in the first term, but being blocked by a lot of people sabotaging him from the inside. Um, trying to give the power back to the American people, as far as the governmental ownership. Um, and so that's what he was totally against and trying to undo. And that's ultimately, of course, where it comes from. So,
Right. And so would it be fair to say, or would you agree with the statement that they were going against the American people because the American people sent him there?
absolutely.
And also, since the American people sent him there, knowing full well what to expect to some degree, it seems to me that the reason why he was sent there was to flip the tables over and
Hmm.
basically be our bull in a china shop, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, he was, the right person at the right time. Um, there's some people who I talk to who feel like, he's not right for this time around, and I just ask them, well, who is? Because we don't have anybody else who's willing to take the arrows, right? Um, and
Why is it you
basically,
think that people are saying that he's not right for this time around? Why do you think that is?
I think it's they fear, the baggage that kind of might come along with him. Um, you know, obviously, and then of course I think some of it, of course, is the easily offended. Um, you know, but a lot of those people who were dead nose that way, who wouldn't support him previously, it's been a rude awakening. It's almost like it had to be this way for people to see the other side, right?
Words
So
to
it
live
had,
by.
yeah,
It had to be this way. So they fear Trump because Trump can't be controlled. We sent Trump because we don't want him controlled. And I would go so far as to say that the people that may have voted for him before, that were in the Ron DeSantis camp when Ron was trying to get the nomination, and that they were saying that same thing, that Trump did a good job first time, but he's not going to be a good fit this time. Would it be fair to say, or I mean, to me, it seems like it was more or less driven by opposing viewpoints, people that had their own reasons for not wanting Trump to be reelected or to run for president again, because they wanted Ron to run for the election. And it's almost like people were being affected by propaganda, or at least buying into the hype that Trump is just too bombastic. Would you agree with that? Or do you see it a different way as far as why people thought that he was not the right fit this time around?
I really don't see it another way, honestly. I feel like they were relying on the propaganda machine, right, to continue to, paint Trump as a gunslinger, just a whatever. Of course, with all
Loose
the other,
cannon.
yeah, loose cannon, just radical, extreme, treasonous, da 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 da. And so they try to just continue to convince these people of that and say, hey, there's a better alternative, when really, in fact, there's not. It goes back to the uniparty, what you were talking about before, right? So, and that's, I mean, he's not part of that. So,
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that, he's exactly the person for the job. He's exactly the person that we need in that job, because we don't need somebody who's an establishment person that's controlled by favors and back scratching. So that's about all the
yeah,
questions I have. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it's just about the self-service with politicians, right? It's all about how they can continue to enrich themselves, and they fear him because he wants to put a stop to a lot of that stuff, right? So,
Right.
um, but yeah, it's been good, good being on the screen here. So,
Well, we certainly appreciate you coming by and entertaining our questions on the show. We'd love to have you back on the show at a future date. So just let me know what works for you. You know how to get in touch with me. We'll definitely have you back. We certainly enjoyed the time with you tonight, Q-Tip, and we would love to have another discussion with you. Maybe we can get you on again sometime in the near future.
all right, sounds good. Had a good
All right.
time,
Well,
man.
all right. You too. You have a good rest of your Saturday evening. I hope you enjoy that movie.
Thanks. See you, man.
See you later. So that was Q-Tip. Q-Tip was gracious enough to join us tonight and answer all my questions and ponder the scenarios that I posed him. But we really enjoy having guests on and being able to talk and have a discussion, real talk with real people, real down home people, people that are actually doing the work, that are actually living the lives, doing the work, providing for their families, and looking for the brighter future that's to come. And so we want to encourage that thought and encourage that way of thinking amongst everyone, that the future is bright and it can be even brighter. But when we talk about Bitcoin as an asset to protect your wealth, to save its generational wealth. So, if you want something to put your money in to protect it against inflation and debasement and just regulatory theft, and the big enemy that is the Fed, that is printing the dollar out of existence, then Bitcoin's where you want to put your money. So, but we did enjoy our conversation with Q-Tip, and we do hope he comes back soon to discuss other matters with us in the future. But that is going to be all the time we have for tonight. So we certainly appreciate everyone who tuned in. We apologize for the audio issue we had during the news, but we will continue to work on ironing out all these little technicalities that happen. Unfortunately, sometimes stuff happens when you're live, and you just don't know it's going to happen until it happens. So you have to address it the best way you can. But we do appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also enable notifications. So when we go live, you'll get the little pop-up on your mobile device. So, the Houn Show is now live, and you can tune in and watch the show live. It's always more entertaining to watch the show live. So we do appreciate everyone that comes and joins us for this show. So without further ado, we will let you go for this evening. You guys have a good rest of your Saturday, and I hope the rest of your weekend is great as well. We'll be back on tomorrow evening around 9, and through the weekdays we'll be on around 9 p.m., a little bit after 9 p.m. That's why you need to enable those notifications so you know when we go live. And we're working on a story for this coming Friday, and we're going to put some material together for that, and we're going to do our next special report. We haven't decided on a subject matter yet, but we will be putting that up and getting something going. Also, make sure you check out our locals page, thehounshow.locals.com. You can be a supporter for $3 a month and support our stream and the work that we do here. But we do have some articles up there that are published right now that are free to read. So you can go and take a look at those and read those articles. We're going to have another article published Tuesday. And we'll be posting that on our locals page as well. But like I said, you can be a supporter for $3, and what that will get you is access to exclusive content. We haven't started putting them up yet, but we will be putting up some exclusive videos. We'll be putting up also exclusive polls. So the goal is going to be, so these Friday night special reports that we do, we're going to basically come up with like 3 or 4 items, and then we're going to put a poll on our locals page, and people will be able to vote on what they want to hear in the special report. So that's another thing that's exclusive to supporters on our locals page. So go ahead and check that out. That's thehounshow.locals.com. Like I said, it's just $3 a month to be a supporter. But we do appreciate everyone who tuned in tonight. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night.